Welcome back to Anime Recap Pro. Today we will be recapping the second part of Reincarnated as a Slime Season 1. Episode 14. We pick up where we left off amidst the battle, while Rimuru, Tempest, and his Kaijin are staring down the Orc Lord and his subordinates. Gelmud suddenly shows up. The Maijin says that Rimuru and his group stopped him from making a puppet Demon Lord. When Rimuru finds out that Gelmud was the only one who named Rigor 1, Gabiru admits that the Maijin also named him. In response to Gabiru's speech, Gelmud knocks him and all of his subordinates out and tells the Orc Lord to eat them. He then goes on a rant about how hard it was to raise a bunch of strong monsters and make an Orc Lord, which makes the Kaijin realize that Gelmud was the one who ordered the attack on their village. Rimuru steps in to protect Gabiru and his subordinates as Gelmud is about to kill them. He then gives Gabiru health potions so that he could heal his subordinates. Rimuru is angry about what Gelmud did, so he hog-ties him and starts beating him until he is pushed into the Orc Lord. The Maijin tells the Orc that he needs help, but it becomes clear that even the Orc Lord is sick of the Maijin's voice when he cuts off Gelmud's head and eats it, which turns him into an Orc disaster. Rimuru decides right away that if he doesn't stop this new Demon Lord, things will go wrong if he doesn't. The first wave of attacks came from the Kaijin and Ranga. Shion and Hakuro worked together to cut off the Orc's head. Unfortunately, the demonic traits he got from Gelmud just let him put his head back on. Soe and Benimaru follow up by trapping Orc Disaster in a steel thread cocoon and hitting him with Hellfire and Black Lightning, respectively. The Orc Disaster not only lives through the attacks, but also eats one of his subordinates to get better. This puts him back where they started. Rimuru uses his ace in the hole to beat the Orc Lord. He tells Great Sage to take over his body and use it and all kinds of his skills to their fullest to beat the Orc Lord. Great Sage avoids the Orc Disaster's attacks and cuts off his arm with a black flame-cloaked sword. The wound doesn't heal because the flame is still there, and Great Sage destroys the Orc's weapon. In response to these events, the Orc Disaster rips off his still-burning stump and sends Gelmud's magic back at Rimuru. Great Sage knows about the magic of the Orc Disaster before the Orc Disaster gets closer and grabs Rimuru. Rimuru uses his Flayed Circle ability, which he got from eating Ifrit, while still under Great Sage's control. However, to Great Sage's dismay, the Orc Disaster now has fire resistance, so the attack doesn't work. Rimuru doesn't seem surprised by this news, since many high-level monsters have fire resistance. Great Sage tries to think of a new way to attack, but Rimuru stops him. Rimuru takes control of his body again, and since the Orc Lord is trying to eat him, he fights the Orc in a battle of skills, countering Starved with Predator. Rimuru sees the fear of the Orc Disaster when he accidentally enters the Orc's memories. The Orcs' land is dry and empty, so they can't find any food and are dying of hunger. The Orc King has resorted to ripping off pieces of his flesh to feed his people's children, even though he is sad that they are all dying. He tells his adjutant that he wants to find food in the Great Jura Forest, but he passes out on the way there. Gelmud comes in, feeds the Orc King, and gives him a name, Geld. Geld, the Orc Disaster, says that he always knew Gelmud did not care about his people, but Gelmud's plan gave him hope when things were at their worst. The Orc Disaster knows that his people will die if they don't have a leader, so he plans to eat Rimuru. Rimuru, on the other hand, says that he will eat Geld, his sins, and the sins of Geld's people. When he says that, the Orc Disaster's broken mind is put back together as Rimuru turns his home's barren land into a lush forest of Jura. Geld thanks the greedy slime before he goes into Rimuru's soul stockpile. In the real world, Rimuru has eaten the Orc Disaster. He wants Geld to rest in peace. The orcs have been stopped because they no longer have their leader or the power of the starving ones. As part of their deal, the Kaijin can leave whenever they want, but they ask to stay and promise their loyalty to Rimuru instead. Episode 15. Rimuru makes the Jura Forest Alliance so that the lizardmen, goblins, and orcs can live peacefully together. By accident, he becomes the Chancellor of the Alliance. They also name the capital Tempest after Rimuru. He then names all the orcs, and they join his team. Episode 16. 2 days after, word has spread that a new town of monsters is developing in the forest of Jura. With this news, Gazelle meets up with Rimuru and makes a deal to work together. 2 days after Rimuru and Gazelle make a deal to work together, Gazelle returned with Vesta. Vesta apologized to Rimuru and Kaijin for the trouble he caused in the past and started working as a researcher for them. Gabiru, his sister, and a few other lizardmen also work for Rimuru. After Rimuru gives them names, they change into dragon newts. After the Orc Lord was defeated, it was some time before Milim Nava, one of the demon lords, became interested in the Jura forest and went to talk to Rimuru about it. Ranga and the Kaijins try to protect Rimuru because they are worried about their master's safety, but they can't do much against their strength. In the end, Rimuru calms Milim down by putting honey in her mouth. They become friends, and Milim decides to move to the village with him. Even though Rimuru's council is glad she won't attack them anymore, they are worried about Milim and Rimuru's new friendship, because the other demon lords might see it as a threat to their power balance. Episode 17. Vesta makes a full potion that is the same as Rimuru's. This makes Rimuru try to negotiate with the city to make low potions. Just then, Phobio, the demon lord Carrion's beastmaster, comes to Tempest to take it over. However, Milim quickly takes care of him before Rimuru comes in and makes things right. Milim was offered a new weapon in exchange for information. Later, the Border Survey Corps, led by a man named Yom, joined Aaron's group and came to the Tempest, where Rimuru asked them to take credit for defeating the Orc Lord. The demon orc Clayman is interested in a powerful beast called Charybdis, so he sends Tyr, the Harlequin, to find out more about it. Episode 18. While Phobio is mad at Milim for humiliating him, Tyr and Footman, two of Clayman's Harlequins, come up to him and try to persuade him to become a demon lord so that he can get back at Milim. Charybdis, an SS rank threat, take over his body and stay in charge. Phobio breaks the seal on Charybdis. Tyr says that she was told to bring back Charybdis to life and send it to Milim. Traya, who is Trainee's sister, tells Rimuru about the revival. Charybdis is the mindless ruler of the skies. He came from a cloud of Veldora's magicules and only wants to destroy. It has called 13 megalodons from the spirit world to help it on its rampage, and they are now on their way to Jura. The Dragon Empire and Rimuru get ready for battle. Episode 19. Rimuru's forces kill the Megalodons with the help of 100 Pegasus Knights from Dwargan. They also try to destroy Charybdis with a full-scale attack, but fail. Then Rimuru fights Charybdis himself, only to discover that it has taken over Phobio and is after Milim. Rimuru asks Milim to kill Charybdis without killing Phobio. After the battle, Phobio says he's sorry for all of the trouble he's caused, and his master, the demon Lord Carrion, makes a deal with Tempest not to attack. Rimuru and the others finally figure out that Clayman's Harlequin is the cause of all the trouble they've been having lately. Episode 20. Megalodon stakes are used to celebrate the city's victory. Rimuru has a dream about that Shizu's regret over not being able to help her 5 students, who were brought into this world. Rimuru and Ranga go to see them in the kingdom of Ingracia. There he meets Yuki Kagurazaka, who is also a teenager and is in charge of the children. Yuki makes plans for Rimuru to teach Shizu's students, but he tells them that the kids are summons meant to be weapons for the summoner, while the 2 of them are from another world and came here. They are so young that they have so much energy that will kill them in 5 years. Rimuru promises to do what Shizu asked and figure out how to save them. Episode 21, 22, and 23. Rimuru gets little respect from Shizu's students. However, after a show of strength, he gains their respect after days of contemplating and trying out ways to stabilize their excess energy. He lands on a solution where he must fuse the children with spirits to control that extra energy. After searching for the dwelling of spirits for a while, he finds it and meets Raymaris, the former queen of the spirits and now a demon lord. After confrontation with her, she helps him communicate with the spirits through prayers. Many lesser spirits answer Gale, Alice, and Ryota's prayers, so Rimuru eats them and turns them into 3 new superior spirits, which are then able to live in Gale, Alice, and Ryota. Kenya calls on a superior spirit of light, which inhabits him. Veldora reacts to the appearance of a spirit-like being she doesn't know much about. Even though Rimmerus tried to stop it because she thought it was dangerous, it managed to inhabit Chloe. Even so, the hazardous energy in the 5 children has calmed down, so they won't die in a few years. Rimuru then goes back to Ingracia. Yuki doesn't think the countries that left the children behind will get them back, so they can live everyday lives. Rimuru doesn't tell Yuki how he got them out of trouble. Rimuru thinks that the last 2 years and says that all of their problems have been solved. He gives Chloe Shizu's magic blocking mask, but he's not sure why. He thinks it's best. Then Rimuru senses a shady woman watching him. Want to find out what happens? Hit that notification button and stay tuned for Season 2. Also, if you enjoyed, please like, share, and subscribe. We really appreciate it.